y'all. Welcome to Tuesday. Miss Brown's here teaching you today about finding equivalent fractions. You should be able, let's check it out. There we go. That's my screen for you. Today we're finding equivalent fractions. So I wanted to go over a couple of things before we got started. And they are some vocab to get us headed in the right direction. So I would like to start with the word equivalent. The word equivalent means equal to. So if you're looking to find an equivalent fraction, you're looking to find something that is equal to the fraction that you're looking at. Then we've got simplify. You are also finding an equivalent fraction when you simplify. However, when you simplify to find that equivalent fraction, you'll be dividing because it's the simplest form, the lowest numbers. Finally, the numerator is the top. We should know that one by now. And then the denominator, which is the bottom of your fraction. This is your, if this is my fraction, your numerator would be your part of your denominator, which is your whole. So we're going to look at some problems today that involve fractions and finding the equivalence of some fractions. So I'm going to start out with a couple of problems to get you going, where I'm going to show you what to do, and then we'll work together. So it says, what fraction is shown by the shaded portion in the figure? So once again, we're going to find the denominator first, which is our whole. And this will be our whole. This is our part. So let's find our whole and find out how many parts in total we have. I have counted 5 as my whole. Now we need to count the shaded. 4 is my part. So this figure is 4/5. And what we need to do now is multiply the numerator and the denominator. Because whatever you do to the numerator, you can do, but you have to do it to the denominator. And whatever you do to the denominator, you can do, but you have to do it to the numerator so that we have the same fraction, so that it's equivalent. So it says multiply the numerator and the denominator by 3 to create an equivalent fraction. So I'm going to go with 4/5. 4 times 3, 5 times 3. And so our equivalent fraction is 12/15. You can have so many equivalent fractions because as long as you multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same thing, it is still equivalent. I could multiply the numerator times 368. As long as I multiply the denominator by 368, I have an equivalent fraction. Let's move on to number 2. Jennifer told her brother that she ran 3/5 mile after school. Ryan said, I ran 5/8 miles, so we ran the exact same distance. Is Ryan correct? Use the number lines to justify, which means prove your answer. So I'm going to put Jennifer, because Jennifer's whole is 5, like this one is. And I'm going to mark this one with Ryan, because his whole is 8. So we ran exactly the same distance. Is Ryan correct? Let's mark 3/5. And let's mark 5/8. If I drew a line that comes down just like this, notice I pass 5/8. That means that they did not run exactly the same distance, but darn were they close. So no, Ryan is not correct. So I'm going to get into a couple more problems. And what I would like for you to do is find a piece of paper and follow along with me. You'll be able to write some of this stuff down, not all of it. I don't need you to write the entire problem down, but I do want you to show your work on a separate piece of paper. This says write two equivalent fractions for the shaded part of the octagon. So let's figure out first what our whole is. All of the parts together, shaded and not shaded. 5, 6, 7, 8 is our whole. Oop, actually, let's write our original fraction over here. 8 is our whole, and now let's find our shaded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6/8. To find two equivalent fractions, we can decide what we want to multiply the top and the bottom by, or we could divide both of them. If we divide both of them, would be simplifying. So let's pick a random number, something pretty easy for us. So let's do 2. So I'm going to take 6 times 2, which is, so we're going to write times 2, and then down here we'll divide by 2. So 6 times 2 is 12, and 8 times 2 is going to be 16. So an equivalent fraction is 12/16. And what's super cool about our fraction is that we can see that both of these numbers have a factor of 2. So I can also divide by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. These are both equivalent fractions. This is the only one that is simplified because I divided. It is a more simple answer. Think of it as like, if I decorated a cookie and it was a very simple cookie, then all it would have is frosting. And so less in that case is your simplified cookie. If I decided to decorate the cookie and went all out into like sprinkles and frosting with shapes and things like that, that would not be a simplified cookie. That would be adding more or multiplying by more. But our simple cookie is just with frosting. So we're dividing because it's less. Number 4. Which two figures show equivalent fractions? Well, first of all, let's write our fractions out. When you see a model, the number one thing you need to do without a doubt is label it. Label it, label it, label it. If you look at a model and you aren't labeling it first, you're wrong. You've got to label your model. So I'm going to start with my with P. It is 1, 2, 3 is my whole, and my part is 1. I've got 1, 2 as my whole. 1 is my part for Q. R, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as my whole. And 1, 2 as my part. And then finally for S, I've got 1, 2, 3 as my whole, and 1, 2 as my part. So these are my fractions that I've got. I need to figure out which ones are equivalent. Take about 10 seconds right now to think about how we would go about doing this. Yeah, we're going to either multiply or divide the top and the bottom to find which equals which. So let's start with 1/3. Let's see if we can take 1/3 and multiply it by anything to make these others. So 1 times 1 is 1, but 3 times 1, well, the equivalent fraction is going to be actually the same fraction, so that one's not going to work. What about 2? So this one's not going to work because if I do the same thing to the top and the bottom, it's not going to be 1 in the numerator. So let's now go to the bottom. 1 times 2 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. If I do the same thing to the top and the bottom, look at what I got here. But it can't be S, because when I multiply the bottom by the same as the numerator, then that doesn't work. So my answer here is 1/3 and 2/6. 2/6 is equivalent to 1/3. 1/3 is the simplified version of 2/6. The next is asking for a question down here. It says, the circle below has been divided into ninths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Shade another fraction that is equivalent to the fractions you named above. What fraction did you shade? So let's take a look at which two numbers up here, any of them, I think we've got 2. Can the numerator and the denominator be multiplied by something and have 9 in the denominator? Because we know the whole down here is ninths. So something up here has to multiply to get 9. So when I look at our multiple or our factors of 9, remember factors, when I look at factors, I say 1 times 9, 2 times, there's nothing that can get 2, but 3 times 3 equals 9. So 3, 1, and 9 are my factors of 9. What fraction has 1, 3, or 9 up here? My only option is 1/3. So I need to take 3 times what to get 9? Yeah, 3 times 3. Whatever I do to my bottom, I got to do to my top. So my answer is 3/9. And I'm going to shade, shade, shade. I'm going to give you about 1 minute to look at number 5 and get as many of these done as possible. And then we'll go over the answers. Notice my 4 is getting smaller as I go to 1. So we're simplifying this one, which means I need to divide. All right, let's do 2 more and then I got an exit ticket for you. Let's move this. Shirley has 4 different lengths of hair clips. She wants to wear a clip with a length equivalent to 14/16 inches. Which length clip should Shirley choose? So 14/16 of an inch, which is a very weird fraction, but let's go for it. So first of all, let's count and see what we got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is half of 16. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So this is a number line basically of 0 to 16, knowing that 8 is in the middle because 8 is half of 16. So let's find where 14/16 is. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I am going to draw a line here. I'm going to go ahead and shade this in so we can kind of see what our model of 14/16 looks like. And what's super cool about that is when we shade that model, you can see that 1/2 is definitely not it, because this is way more than 1/2. So we've already eliminated one of our answer choices. So it asks us, which length should Shelley choose? Let's do a little bit. These are all lower than 14/16. So let's do a little bit of division to simplify, because division equals simplify. So 14/16. I know immediately, because both of these numbers are even, that both of them that 2 can go into both of them. So I'm just going to start with 2, see where it gets us. Divided by 2, divided by 2. 14 divided by 2, 7. 16 divided by 2, 8. Hey, look at that. Right there. So 14/16 is equivalent to 7/8. It is also the simplified version because we divided to get there. Miss Ewert told her class that 1/3 of the students in the classroom scored 100 on the math test. There are 24 students in the class. Lisa knew that she could multiply both the numerator and the denominator of the fraction by the same number to find a fraction equivalent to 1/3. So which number should Lisa choose to find the equivalent fraction? So basically it's just saying 3 times what equals 24? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 24, 20, 20, 24. So 21, 24. Oh my gosh. Need to be back in school. I've got 8. So 8 students scored 100% on the test out of the 24. All right, my loves, I'm going to leave you to it. Here is your exit ticket. If you need to pause the video, may I suggest you do that and take on your exit ticket. When you're done with your exit ticket, please make sure to send your answer to your teacher. Have a great Tuesday, my loves.